Oh, yeah, the real people. Good afternoon, councillors, members of the public, officers, welcome along. I declare this meeting open. Under announcements, I simply want to say congratulations again to the city staff and all the organisers of a wonderful Christmas parade on Sunday and the carols. It was a terrific community event. Good to see the community gathered together in such numbers to celebrate this important time of the year. So well done to all of those people. Sensational. Councillor Steele is requesting leave of absence. We'll deal with that later. Declarations of interest. We have those declarations from Councillor Miguel, myself and Councillor Brown. Councillor Hayward also declares a financial interest with respect to item 14.1, as his business has a commercial arrangement under negotiation with the Discovery Park. Are there any further declarations of interest, councillors? Thank you. Confirmation of the previous minutes of the council meeting, 7.11. Councillor Cook moves, Councillor Brown seconds. All in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Item 7.12, the Policy Review and Development Committee minutes. Someone move, Councillor Miguel, seconder. Councillor Cook, all in favour? Those against? One, that's carried, thank you. Are there any petitions, councillors? We have received requests for deputations from Mr Guy Italiano with respect to item 10.31. Those who approve that, please indicate. That's approved. Mr Jeff Corkin on item 14.1. Those who approve, please indicate. That's approved. And Sinead Norris on 14.1. Those who approve, please indicate. So when we get to those items, we'll call you up and you have 5 minutes to present. Item 8.41, can I have someone move that recommendation, please? That Councillor Cook's report be received. Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Councillor Miguel, seconder. All in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Councillor Cook. Very thorough report and good content to think about. Dealing with the agenda items 10, councillors, coming out are 10.11, 10.12, 10.14, I beg your pardon, 14, 10.21, 10.31 and 10.52. Are there any others that anyone wishes to raise? Councillor Steck.
513, please, sir.
What we are debating is 10.11, 10.12, 10.13, 10.14, 10.21, 10.31, 10.52.
Sorry, sir, could I also have 10.1.10 just so that I can vote against it, please, sir?
Someone move the balance. Thank you, Councillor Cook. All seconder. Councillor Brown. All in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We go to 10.11. This requires an absolute majority. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Miguel. Seconder. Councillor Cook. Any debate? All in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.12 also requires an absolute majority. Have a mover, please. Councillor Miguel, seconder. Councillor Cook. Any debate? I'll put it. All in favour. It's carried Councillor Stick. Yeah, well, that's carried unanimously, thank you. 1013, can I have a mover, please? Councillor McGuell, seconder. Councillor Cook. You wish to debate or just vote against it?
I just don't like some of the wording.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Stick. Take a seat. Councillor McGuell. Councillor Cook.
Councillors, I urge you to accept this. I am disappointed that we won't be asking our residents to carry bags around to pick up their doggy poo, but it's not in the legislation, so it wasn't able to be put into our local law, but I would urge councillors to support it. Thank you.
Speaker against, Councillor Stick.
Thank you, sir. It's just that on the power of duty in point 2, I have trouble with wording that the dog is determined to be disruptive, unduly mischievous. Those seem to be rather old-fashioned terms, considering that the dog would be covered under the Dangerous Dog Act, which is sections, I'm assuming, listed below, which is the S16(3) and S17A. So for that, I can't, in the life of me, allow for someone's pet to be put down because someone deems it really mischievous.
Speaker 4, Councillor McGuell. I'll put it all in favour. Those against? 3 against, that's carried. Thank you. Now, 1014, I understand a councillor wishes to raise one of the items under delegation. So what I'm going to do is ask for a move and a seconder for the recommendation that's there, and then I can take that particular item out to deal with. Is there a mover for this? Councillor McGuell, seconder. Councillor Cook, do you wish to speak? Councillor Cook. Speaker against, Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, the delegation that I would like removed is 1.1.13, and that's to do with the City of Bunbury Art Collection and the delegated authority for the CEO to dispose of artworks up to $5,000. I've got several objections to this because artworks are not like a tractor or a grader or other plant and equipment. And in the case of the City Collection, it's built around 2 great bequests. One, the Hodgson bequest in 1949, which relates to Claude Hodgson, gave 22 works of art to the city of then the town of Bunbury, and that was the genesis of the collection. And I hesitate to mention this because it might give people ideas, but a CEO in one of the Wheatbelt shires sold one of those paintings to buy a grader. And I thought that was not a good idea because he had the delegated authority to do so. I think the power is too broad. If you build a collection by getting donations, and like the Hodgkin collection and the Alcoa collection, which I had the honour to be the chair of the then collection committee when that was gifted to the city of Bunbury, nearly $500,000 worth of artwork, you won't get collectors donating if they think that someone's going to have the authority just to deaccession and get rid of works of art. If they think someone can sell it off, then they may not donate to the city. So that's my objection to that, and that's the reason why I'd like to vote against this motion on that one particular item in the delegated authority.
Okay.
And Mr Mayor, can I just finally say, can I just thank the City of Bunbury staff for taking me through the delegated authorities. I spent about 3/4 an hour with Ms French and made it all a lot clearer, so I thank her very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. What I've just asked the CEO to be specific on the reference for that particular delegation to assist our minute taker. Mr Galinsky, thank you.
If I may just clarify, Mr Mayor, the change that Councillor Smith's proposing isn't actually identified, so Delegation 1.113 isn't actually identified as a specific item within the recommendation. It's part of the register. We actually have come up with some wording which amends point 2 of the executive recommendation, which helps entertain councillor or the intent of Councillor Smith's change. So I guess we're in your hands, Mr Mayor, as to whether or not you wish to deal with that as an amendment or as an alternate motion.
Yeah, I'll deal with it as an alternate motion. So, councillors, to have Councillor Smith's foreshadowed motion entertained, you'd need to defeat that particular matter. Are there any other delegations that anyone's uncomfortable with? Councillor Morris?
Could I ask how many pieces of artwork have been disposed since the city collection was started?
Mr CEO?
Through Mr Mayor, my understanding is that deaccessioning of artworks, there's only been one piece deaccession, and that was not under a delegated authority. That was done because it was damaged beyond repair. But my understanding again is that there's been no artworks disposed of under this delegated authority.
All good? Councillor McGuell? Yeah, so is Councillor McGuell, I think.
I'm just seeking some clarification as to how we're voting on these three items, and particularly I'm assuming, I'm hearing that we will vote one and we'll vote three, and then we'll take two separately. Is that the case?
I'm going to deal with this particular matter now, dealing with the artwork, and then I'll take the rest as it is, okay? There's no tidy way of doing this, so this is the way we'll do it. Did you have a question, Councillor McGuell?
Some clarification from the CEO, just to make sure I'm clear, because obviously we've got the delegation and then some policies tied up with the delegations through there on how that is dealt with. So could the CEO just give me a bit of an explanation on if there was a piece of art to be sold or what do you call it again? Deaccessioned. Can you just explain that process? I'm assuming the delegated authority may have some extra policies behind it before that can go on. So if you could just clarify that for me, please, Mr CEO, through the Mayor.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. If I can defer that to the Director, Corporate Community
Thank
Services.
you, through the Mayor. A panel of experts is usually formed, and an assessment will be made of the works and the reasons for deaccessioning. That hasn't had to happen any time in the last, or since the city's had tenure of the collection, to the best of my knowledge. So, but there is a process. It's not just a CEO sign-off. A panel of arts experts would be convened to make a recommendation for the CEO.
Any further clarifications required? So I'll put one, all in favour. Those against? One. Now two includes the current recommendation delegating to the CEO and the process being outlined, so specifically including this disposal of artwork. I'll put that, all in favour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's lost. So you're moving now your amendment, your new motion, Councillor Smith,
Thank
that
you, Mr.
all those delegations be included apart from that
Yes,
one, which will
yes.
be worded. Have you given words here? Okay.
Yes,
this is it here.
Yeah. And Mr Mayor, can I just add that if it remained, for example, if it had remained at $5,000, that means that, I'm not saying this CEO, he's a lovely CEO, but a CEO in the future
I don't know about that.
might, because half the artworks are not worth $5,000.
Just a point of order, Mr Mayor. I think if that's a case for it, that needs a seconder.
Yeah, well, she's moving her motion.
Thank you,
you-
Mr Mayor. I move the motion as on the screen. Thank you.
Seconder,
And I'll second it. Mr.
Councillor
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Do you wish to say any more, Councillor Smith?
No, Mr Mayor, it's just an extra safeguard. I feel that if people are going to donate to the City of Bunbury collection, they're going to be safe in the knowledge that after all the process has gone through, the experts and the so on, and it gets to the CEO, it then becomes the council's responsibility to deaccession a work of art. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, to say that art is always a subjective type of asset in any local government, and I think that if anybody has donated to the gallery, and I have actually indeed done that, I would like to think that there was a hook in there with the full council to let any CEO that perhaps didn't have the practised eye on a piece of art would have that safeguard just to make sure that some piece that might be worth quite a lot in context of aesthetics or otherwise is not inadvertently disposed of to the detriment of the city collection ultimately. So I think that Councillor Smith's amendment is an admirable one and provides a safeguard, even though I'm sure that our CEO has a very practised eye on art. So I ask all councillors to support that amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Is there a speaker against? I just want to point out for the benefit of the community, public watching this and in the audience, that we have a process where it's not just the practice eye of the CEO that's relied upon. Thank goodness. There is a group of art experts who also assist with the CEO of the day to make that decision. I'll put it all in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. And there's an item 3, part 3. Maureen. I'll put that all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We got there. Thanks, Councillor Smith. So we go to, excuse me, item 10.110. Can I have someone move that policy? Councillor McGuell, seconder. Councillor Cook. Just to speak. Speaker against, Councillor Steck. I'll put it all in favour. Those against. That's carried unanimously. 10.21 requires an absolute majority. Can someone move that, please? Councillor Cook, Councillor McGuell. Any debate? I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.31, Mr. Italiano, welcome to you, Guy, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Southwest Phoenix involvement in the Hay Park Multi-Sports Pavilion dates back to 2014, and to this end, we've remained committed to working with the City of Bunbury to reach a resolution and finalising our tenure for the Hay Park Multi-Sports Pavilion. However, as President of Southwest Phoenix, I won't stand by and let the City of Bunbury tarnish our club's reputation in the manner in which you've sought to do so with the presentation of this agenda item. This agenda item throws us under a bus and makes us look like villains, while overlooking some very important facts which are pertinent to our ongoing negotiations and the failure of the City of Bunbury to progress matters to a close. The first omission from this agenda item, which has been left out, is since Council's decision in October 2016, we believed we were working in a positive and cooperative manner alongside the City of Bunbury to find suitable partners for us to manage the facility. In keeping with Council decision, Acting Sport and Rec Manager at the time and Southwest Phoenix had a memorandum of understanding that was set up in August 2017. Okay, in August of 2017. Now, for 2 years, this was meant to be effective while the City of Bunbury addressed its matters in respect to management. I note that in June 2018, the City of Bunbury were going to develop a memorandum of understanding. Well, here it is. We've had it. City of Bunbury have been sitting on this for 16 months, and we haven't signed it. And we're in December 2018. Concurrently, with that council decision, there was also a requirement to finalise a single entity to enter into a lease agreement. This entity was established in 2016, and its current financial members are the Southwest Phoenix Football Club and the Bunbury Bulls Rugby Club. Also in 2016, a comprehensive facilities management plan was provided to the City of Bunbury. 150 man-hours provided, ready to go. In June 2018, South West Phoenix and the Bulls had reached an agreement with the City of Bunbury to undertake discussions with the pavilion. Once again, the City of Bunbury asked us for facilities management plan, which had been previously provided, but as we've had new member come onto the association, we amended this facilities plan and gave it to the City of Bunbury. We also said to the City of Bunbury that for us to finalise this facilities management plan, we needed to receive total value of variable outgoings, a copy of the latest casual rates, higher rates, and any additional costs that the City of Bunbury required for us to complete our financial modelling. The requests for these items were prepared were revised on the 2nd of September 2018. On the 4th of September 2018, we received an email from the City of Bunbury to say that this information will be provided to us. We've yet to receive that information. So it's quite disturbing to read that the City of Bunbury prepares an agenda item where they make a recommendation not to adopt the single entity to run a facility when we haven't actually finished negotiations in respect to that single entity. I just find it just ridiculous. So we haven't reached a solution, but yet council want to make a decision. So there seems to be an ulterior agenda going on here. Now, what is also cause for concern for us is that in this agenda, another party, Hay Park, have indicated that they have no intention with either working with the City of Bunbury or South West Phoenix to be part of any management. So if City of Bunbury's long-term goal is to have a single entity to manage this facility, and this particular club doesn't want to be part of that management team, why are they in the facility? So to finish up, we will continue to work with the City of Bunbury as we've done in the past to achieve positive outcomes, to realise the full potential of Hay Park. But we don't want to be disrespected and discredited with the enormous amount of work that we do as volunteers by making us look uncooperative and non-responsive without looking in your backyard first. Because it's clear from this agenda that you've set out to portray South West Phoenix in a derogatory manner to suit your needs in this instance.
Thank you, Mr. Italiano. So I move the executive recommendation. Councillor McGuell, second to Councillor McCleary. Councillor McGuell.
Quickly, Mr. Mayor, I hope I hear Mr. Italiano's comments there, and thanks for making them. I'm sure that wasn't the intention of the staff to downplay the club, and I know, being involved in clubs myself, how much time and effort's put into that. So your volunteers who are doing that, the city, or certainly from my opinion, we appreciate that from there. In terms of this recommendation, obviously from here, going forward as we are until there comes a more solution, hopefully these comments have been heard from both parties and we can move forward and come to a solution in one day, and we're obviously working better between the city and the clubs there. But happy to support this recommendation as it is, and I'm sure councillors can support that. Thank you.
Councillor McCleary, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just say that I'm sorry that the club has taken offence, because I'm sure that wasn't council or staff's intention. And we are open for business to continue talking, but in the meantime, this recommendation will keep moving everything forward. Thank you.
Speaker against?
Just a quick question, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Councillor Hayward.
I'm just wondering whether there would be any disruption, or if there'd be any problem with having this matter deferred. So the question is whether, if I move for it to be deferred, say, till early next year, to give our staff an opportunity to re-meet with the club and see if they can't resolve the problems, is that going to cause any difficulties or problems?
Look, the intent of the recommendation, Councillor Hayward, is that the staff continue to work with Phoenix to come up with an outcome which is beneficial to Phoenix as well as the City Council and other players. So this recommendation gets supported tonight. As Mr Italiano said, he wishes to continue to work with the City staff, and I don't see a reason why you would want to defer it. It's up to you entirely.
A follow-on question from that, in context of a potential deferral. Could I just get an explanation from staff as to why the MOU wasn't signed? Just to get some background, because that's an unresolved question in my own mind, which needs to be addressed. And the second part is that the facilities management plan, there seems to have been a lag in getting that organised, as Mr Italiano has pointed out. Can we just get that addressed as well, so that if, as Councillor Hayward has suggested, there is a need for deferment, that we can either do that or not do that in context of those two main points that Mr Italiano made. Why wasn't the MOU signed, and is the facilities management plan lag in getting that together? Is there a reason for it? Is there something behind it?
Yep, thank you. CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll defer to the Director and/or Manager.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks. Through the Mayor, on behalf of the Sport and Rec and the property team who worked together, the draft MOU was just a discussion draft. It wasn't actually ready for signing. It was the first start to start the negotiations. And the facility plan would have formed part of those discussions, but I think the point the report's trying to make is the discussions have not progressed for a number of reasons, and those documents are nowhere near final for signing. The association wasn't able to be formed, so that's why the report's come to council in its current form.
Thank you. Are you asking questions? Because I'm going to...
Yes.
Okay.
I
Councillor Stick.
just wanted to know how much was the cost of creating the document for the master facilities management plan?
Well, the document's still under work progress. Hasn't been... No, you're not participating anymore, Mr Italiano. Thank you. CEO, do you have any rough idea? My understanding from what Ms Addison Brown said, it's still under process. Is that right?
I have just one further
No, just take a
question,
seat, Councillor Stick. Sorry, I just want to clarify this matter. The staff are still discussing it.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor.
Ms Anderson.
The facilities management plan, as Guy would remember, both the staff and his team spent quite a considerable time putting that together, the first draft. So there was considerable time spent putting that together between both the city staff and Guy's team.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I am going to move to defer the matter, if I can, until March next year.
I'll second that, sir.
Until the council meeting,
In
second meeting in March or the first meeting in March?
The second meeting in March would be terrific, Mr Mayor, if that's possible.
Okay, and Councillor Stick seconds that. Do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I would like to speak just briefly. I think this has been a difficult time. I think we're all aware that this has been quite problematic over time for us. I think that deferring it's no real drama. It's not going to cause any real disruption, but what it does do is it does put a bit of a timer on our staff and the clubs to get together and resolve this if that's the way they want to go, and certainly it gives us clarity next time should we come back in March and it's not resolved. I think it gives us clarity that we've done everything that we can do, so I think that it's worth deferring at this point.
Okay, I'll put it all in favour. Those against? 2, that's carried. So that matter has been deferred until the second council meeting in March 2019 to give the parties an opportunity to work together. 10.5.2, someone prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor Kelly.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor McCleary. Councillor Kelly.
Just to say, Mr Mayor, that the tender process has been followed. We've had due process. The tender document or the selected party has met the criteria, and that we should support this so this work can progress immediately. Thank you.
Councillor McCleary. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Morris.
Yes. If I can give an analogy, a few years ago we had an item come up before council concerning the deconstruction of the timber jetty, an $8 million project. One of the tenders that came in was at $7 million. It was not recommended by the staff. Now, when the executive recommendation makes a decision on that, if it's good governance, why are we sitting here making a decision? It should be delegated authority, if that's the case. In this case, we, as a council, decided to go with a company who had very little experience in relation to deconstruction of a jetty. And yet, we passed it, and we saved $1 million. Now, we're taking a look at $115,000 in terms of a $700,000 plus project. So the ratio is actually greater than in savings than what it was for the timber jetty.
Councillor Morris, can I just ask you not to mention numbers?
Oh, sorry.
It's all confidential.
Point of order still, Mr Mayor. I believe we're here to ratify what has been put before us, not to discuss what the ins and outs of the tender. Thank you.
So carry on, Councillor Morris. Just leave the dollars
certainly.
and percentages.
So what we're looking at then is a matter of, is the company able to do it? Are we going to knock back a company with a cheaper price that is still capable of doing that work? That's what this chamber is making the decision. Now, if you have any questions in relation to their ability to do it, that's why we have an engineering department, to make certain that it is done properly. I'm of the opinion that our ratepayers are looking for the best value. Now, it's been said over and over again in many things, the pub test. If we take this issue to a pub and we talk to the gentleman in the pub, should we spend X number of dollars more for an item because of good governance? I'm certain ear would be burning leaving that pub. So therefore, just common sense requires us to say, let's take a look at this and go with the next quote in relation to the project. So therefore, I urge the councillors to reject the executive recommendation.
Speaker 4.
Can I just ask a question, please,
Councillor
sir?
Steck.
Just that I noted that the information on the evaluation report's been provided on pink paper, stamped by Walga. So I'm assuming that has gone through the Walga process, not just the internal processes of council. Is that correct?
CEO.
Through Mr Mayor, all of the city's tenders now run through Tenderlink, which is a process which locks officers out from any involvement until after the tenders have closed, and then there's an assessment process based on the criteria that have been set for each individual tender.
Speaker 4. Councillor Smith.
I'd like to support the executive recommendation as well. I understand that sometimes you get lucky with the lowest tender and sometimes you don't. So I just support this motion. Thank you.
Further speaker against? Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just to say that, just to debate against the jetty analogy, which is no analogy at all, the city does not simply allocate tenders to the lowest priced tender. We never have and never will, because there is a process. In the first part, no elected member here is privy to the conversations and calculations of a tender panel. To support a lowest wins price, or lowest price wins viewpoint, I believe is simplistic and imprudent in context of a tender process, and a tender process by which this city stands by and has done a lot of work to ensure that we're appropriately tendering out ratepayers' funds to get work done to make the city even better than it is. So we cannot have, from a point of view here, any subjective thinking. It should have no place in the city's decision-making process on tenders. We have the opportunity to ask questions. We have the opportunity to change the tender process, change criteria, tweak whatever we like. But this is a tender that has gone through the proper process. It has gone through all of the criteria that are set, and the price is only one criteria. And I respect that the work that's been done to date supports the executive recommendation as it is, and I urge all councillors to accept this tender to ensure that the work can be done. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
I'll put it all in favour, please indicate. Those against? 2, that's carried.
Could I record the names, please?
Councillor Smith and I voted against, the rest voted for. Councillor Morris, I beg your pardon. We move to 11.1. Someone prepared to move that leave be approved. Councillor McCleary, Councillor McGill, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. We move to item 14. Can I have someone move that we do deal with this matter tonight? Councillor Hayward, seconded. Councillor Cook, all in favour? I beg your pardon. Councillor, wait for him to go. You're going to move it. Yeah, seconder.
Can I just clarify on the this just passed item, I voted for the recommendation.
Yeah, I corrected, yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Morris and myself. This item 14.1, Councillor Cook has moved that we do deal with this as a matter of urgent business, and Councillor McCreary seconds. All in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Can I have I beg your pardon, Jeff Corkin to come forward. Jeff, you have 5 minutes and there's a clock in front of me here to guide you. Welcome along.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Do I turn it on from here or is it
It's okay.
going? Yeah, fine, thanks. My name is Jeff Calkin. I'm a resident of Bunbury Foreshore and the President of the Residents Committee. I personally and the committee agree that the proposed redevelopment is a positive for Bunbury. We do, however, have grave reservations about the current concept plan in its present format. The construction of the traffic thoroughfare connecting the old park with the new, as shown on the concept plan, requires the relocation of 2 park homes currently facing Kambana Bay to a location whereby one would enjoy estuary views, whilst the other would be side-on with the view being of the other park home. Their presence in this location would then reduce the estuary views enjoyed by 5 other park homes by at least 75%. I imagine the relocation of the 2 park homes would not be cheap and difficult to guarantee that the structures would not sustain some sort of damage in the process of moving and settling into their new location. We are not just talking about the original park homes, we are also talking about the verandas, carports, garages, storage sheds that were either attached when the home was built or in the ensuing years later. Under the current lease agreement, the park has the right to relocate park homes to a comparable location in the park if necessary. I have a reasonable belief that the relocation is not necessary, as there are a number of viable alternative routes to the one offered in the concept plan. I also have a reasonable belief that the presence of the 2 park homes in their new location would interfere with the, quote, quiet enjoyment, unquote, afforded to all long-stay tenants under the Residential Parks Long-Stay Tenants Act by blocking their view. The non-disclosure by Discovery Holiday Parks to the sellers and buyers of Park Home Number 1 in September, 3 months after the production of the concept plan, that the home was earmarked for relocation would also have to be investigated for referral to the Statutory Administration Tribunal. The possible relocation of the 2 park homes has already had a detrimental impact on the property values of the homes affected. The owner of one of the homes whose house has been on the market has been advised by her real estate agent to lower the asking price by $50,000 as a result of the release of the concept plan. For an aged pensioner whose entire capital is tied up in that house, it is a major blow. The relocation will be a financial disaster for all of the affected homeowners. All the residents of Bunbury Foreshore have bought park homes here to see out the twilight of their lives. They don't ask for much, just to be left alone in the peace and serenity of their surroundings so they can enjoy the time they have left. Can you imagine the impact the relocation will have to the quality of life for those adversely affected? You can value property in monetary figures, but how can you put a value on the loss of their quality of life? The most frustrating aspect of the whole situation is that there are alternative routes that can be used without the relocation of people's homes, without messing up people's lives. The problem is we don't know to what extent Discovery Holiday Parks has explored this, or if they have explored it at all. The reason being, Discovery Holiday Parks don't talk to us. They don't consult the residents. I would have thought the park manager, Richard Murphy, was in a perfect position to be an intermediary between the developers and the residents. He claims he is not involved in the planning and doesn't know any more than us. Discovery Parks have stated on their website they have 4 governing values. The first governing value is respect. Quote, build respect and trust in a safe and responsible manner. Listen to and value our people and our guests, unquote. It is my belief, and that of the residents of Bunbury Foreshore, that they have overwhelmingly failed to achieve this objective in regards to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms Norris.
Good evening. My name is Sinead Norris. I'm the Regional Education Officer for the Cancer Council WA, and my role is to ensure that cancer prevention and early detection messages and strategies are delivered and implemented in the Southwest region. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to comment and provide feedback on the disposal of land and the proposed water splash park. I trust that you've read my submission in relation to adequate shade at the proposed water splash park, and I've seen the concept designs with the 3 shade sails over the area, and I'm pleased to see that the requirement of shade is at the forefront of the city's mind in relation to the design of the space. Cancer Council WA strongly supports the concept designs and hopes that the city will follow through with these plans, particularly because the southwest region of WA has a higher than the national average number of melanoma diagnoses each year. We also support the disposal of land and the development plan as a whole because we believe it will encourage active play amongst children. Generally, we're seeing children spend more time using sedentary entertainment, like watching television, using computers or other electronic devices, rather than getting out and being active. And the development, while it's already a green space for the community, it will increase access and use of the space amongst families. It's developments like these that promote physical activity in our region, and I urge you to consider this when finalising the concept plans. Please also consider that where people would once walk or cycle to get places, many people now travel by vehicle. So I ask that you maintain the existing pathways on the foreshore and encourage the community and tourists to use these to access the splash park, and also ensure that if there are any new kiosks or cafes in the area, that they limit access to sugary drinks and junk food. However, these things can be addressed when the discussion on the concept plan is open. And I urge the City of Bunbury to draw on the expertise of the Cancer Council WA when the time comes for that. As I mentioned, my role is to ensure that cancer prevention strategies are implemented in our community, and that covers not just sun protection, but nutrition, like menu assessments, physical activity, tobacco and alcohol, just to name a few. But the main reason for my attendance today is to encourage and support the City of Bunbury in the disposal of land for the water splash park, to encourage active play amongst children, and ask that you liaise with the Cancer Council in relation to shade development, or use the resource, the Shade Handbook, which is a guide, a practical guide for shade development in WA. This can be found on our website. We urge you to stick to the concept plans with adequate shade, and if amendments are on the agenda, then to seek expertise in this space. Our team work with local governments on a regular basis to create healthy environments, so please don't hesitate to consult us, either myself or the colleagues, my colleagues in the SunSmart team. And please remember that we've also got experts in other fields like Live Lighter, Make Smoking History, Healthy Workplace WA, and Find Cancer Early. And we're currently working with other local governments in this area, to, in particular to help draft their public health plans. Thank you.
Thank you. So I move the executive recommendation.
Just a question, please, Mr Mayor.
I'll get a move in a second first. Get it moving. No one's prepared to move this once in a lifetime. There we go. Councillor Cook. Seconder? Councillor Miguel. You had a question, Councillor
Yes,
McCreary.
please, Mr Mayor. I'm under the understanding that when you purchase a park home in the Discovery Park, as with anything, that you don't actually buy the land, you buy the little house or whatever that's there. So my question is, does the city have the authority to intervene in the extension development plans being drawn up by Discovery Holiday Parks?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Councillor Cook, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, this is a very important development for Bunbury, and I'd urge councillors to support it. I do regret the issues raised by the permanent residents, and I certainly hope that Discovery will open dialogue with them. We've been working with them for well over a couple of years now. A lot of hard work, a lot of time and effort gone into coming up with this solution, which means we get a lovely splash park that we've been after for a few years. And we'll also extend the caravan park into lot 1881, which is magnificent from my point of view, because they can only use half of it for permanent buildings. The other half has to be for caravans or tents, which is really required by the ageing population. So, councillors, I would urge you to listen to the input from our residents, but at the end of the day, this is a magnificent development for Bunbury, and one that is sorely needed, so I certainly hope we all vote for it. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor McGraw.
Councillor Cook summed that up very well. Just reiterating, it is a huge opportunity for Bunbury, not only with a long-term lease, a sale of some land to obviously generate some cash flow, and then obviously the splash park, which we all know the community's been calling out for. I do hear the residents' concerns, but as we've just been told, we don't have any input on how we can deal with that. I'm sure the Discovery Park will want to look after the residents, and we'll hopefully work with them to sort out any problems they have. But in terms of this particular recommendation in front of us, it's a massive positive for Bunbury, and I can't see any reason not to support it.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, of course we need development in Bunbury, and I'm not against development, but you may know by now that I'm against selling council assets, and I'm very nervous about and worried about the dislocation this is going to cause to residents of the park. So for those reasons, I'll be voting against this motion. Thank you.
I'm going to speak in favour of this motion. Councillors, this has been, as we know, this has been several years in the making. It is another iconic development for our great city along Kambana Drive. There's been multi-million-dollar developments already occurred along Kambana Drive, and the Kambana North project officially started last Thursday, so there's another $20 to $30 million project that's going to be constructed over the next 12 to 18 months. The Kambana Caravan Park, as we colloquially know it, or Discovery Park, has been one of the all-time favourite caravan parks in Western Australia for decades. From what I hear, Discovery Parks do run it very, very well. We've had no problems at all from the officer's recommendation that we extend the lease to 50 years for the park itself, and then the park adjoining where the splash park will go have that extended, have that lease for 50 years. The state government also has no difficulty in giving the city the approval to lease both those sites for 50 years each. The development of lot 1881, that had its background with the College Grove land, where we had we agreed, council in the past agreed to cease any further subdivisions out there, and lot 1881 was provided to the city as compensation in part for the inability to further develop the land out at College Grove. So here we have a development worth several $1 million. It's going to employ a lot of people, but more importantly, it's going to give our community a great sense of joy and fun and excitement, as we saw from the submission by the 24 or so, 26 kids from Maiden Park Primary School, and that's just one school. I remember when we had the initial invitation to our public to comment, we had over 400 submissions from school kids wanting this splash pool or playground to go ahead. And it's going to bring hundreds, if not thousands, more visitors to our city, which will invest, even if they walk down the street, have lunch, have some refreshment. It'll put Bunbury further on the map than it has been for many years in the past. So for all those reasons, I urge you to strongly support this great opportunity. Is there a further speaker against? Councillor Stick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to clarify, I'd like to also take them separately, please, sir. And I'll be speaking mostly against the Lions Cove proportion because I don't believe the community is getting what they wanted. And a simple splash pool is not a water park. And whilst we might have 26 letters from the children this evening, I can guarantee you there'll be triple that'll be disappointed with this splash pool. And for the costs that we're going into this, over a 50-year period of constantly looking after the area, I would have thought we could have spent our money better and provided for the children of Bunbury. So this is not a criticism at staff. This is simply saying, as a council elected member, I don't support this. I think the children are being sold short, and I think the location is all wrong. And we're just adding to more car parks on the waterfront.
Just a question to the CEO. CEO, the management of the splash pool, just can you remind the elected members who will be responsible for that into the long term?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The intention under the contract is that the Discovery Caravan Parks will have 100% management and operating costs and asset maintenance of the splash park.
Further speaker 4, Councillor Kelly.
Sorry, sir, just to clarify, we're actually doing the parking in that area.
Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I guess in the long term, the major point for the long process that we've gone through is finding something that's achievable for the city. And I believe that we have found something that's achievable, and that is to have the splash park to divest ourselves of 1881 and further enhance the foreshore facility that is Kumbana Bay, and in general also provide an attraction for people to come into Bunbury during the holiday period in an expanded park, which in turn brings economic activity to the city. I would like just to digress and thank the Cancer Council very much for coming into the chamber tonight to plug shade. I think that fits in with the whole idea of what we're trying to do here, and I'd like to extend that not only shade and safety obviously, but to the accessibility of this place. I believe that in conversations that we've had with the park owners that accessibility is something that they have to the forefront of their mind, accessibility and inclusion. And indeed I think that this is one of the promotions that we can actually hang a hook on, if you like, that for people coming to this park in the future for holidays in Bunbury can be assured that both accessibility and inclusion and safety through the anti-cancer, anti-sun, if you like, movement is something that people are going to look at. They want to come somewhere where we've got, if you like, a trifecta of good things, and we've probably got more than that. So on the basis of the what is able to be achieved here in this partnership, the fact that we're looking at a modern, contemporary and indeed great development with shade accessibility, etc. I think this is a result that's been a long time coming, but it's also very much worthwhile. Finally, I heard what has been said about the consideration for people who live in the park there, and that's the most important thing, as it must be. I'm sure that the people from the park owners will be watching this on stream somewhere to have a look at the result. And I'm going to ask them, I suppose, publicly to make sure that they engage with the park residences and ensure that the best outcome is gained for people who, as the gentleman spoke, are in the twilight of their careers, living in a place that they do love. And I'm hoping that the park people will also see that as a way forward on a development that will be in Bunbury for many years to come. So on the basis of the balance, I'm very happy to support the executive recommendation as it is, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Further speaker against? Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's quite unnecessary because Councillor Kelly did it so eloquently, and I'd urge councillors to change their minds now and vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put item 1, all in favour. It's carried unanimously. Item 2, all in favour. Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Can we have Councillor Hayward back?
Sorry, sir. I was assuming that we're going to do 1 and 2 separately as well.
I've already put it and it's been voted on.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I assumed that as well.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, that's going to be inaccurate against the minutes if it says 10-10, sir.
I'm just waiting for Councillor Hayward to return to the chamber. Thank you. Thank you very much, councillors and staff and members of the public for coming along tonight. Good to see some of our family have now joined us, our partners and grandchildren. So on behalf of everybody, have a great Christmas. Please stay safe, and I look forward to rejoining you all again in January 2019. I declare this meeting closed at 6:25 p.m.